Fiji's military-backed government is refusing to reverse media changes described by the Australian government as an attack on free speech and democracy. A new law which caps foreign ownership of media at 10% directly affects the News Limited owned and operated Fiji Times. News Limited has just 3 months to leave the country and its management is outraged. Karen Barlow reports.
After enduring 18 months of censorship and intimidation, the Fiji Times has been put on notice that time's up as the island nation's only independent media outlet.
Fiji Times has essentially 3 months to comply, and if it doesn't, then Fiji Times will have to close down.
Commodore Frank Bainimarama's military government has lunged for greater control by decreeing that all Fiji media will be at least 90% locally owned. News Limited, which has owned the Fiji Times for 23 years, says it'll try to fight the decree, calling it an outrageous precedent and an appalling assault on free speech and a terrible blow for the fragile economy of Fiji. But it's likely News Corporation will have to sell the Fiji Times. Fiji's government claims the banning of overseas-owned media will ensure more balanced reporting.
You need the media to be locally based, to be able to understand the situation in the country.
We condemn it absolutely. It's another example of the interim Fiji government, the military-dominated government, censoring freedom of speech, impinging upon democratic rights.
Australian Russell Hunter is a former editor-in-chief at the Fiji Times and was chief executive officer of the Fiji Sun when he was expelled in 2008.
What it is about is getting government control of the media. Now, they couldn't bring the Fiji Times to heel, even by starving it of government advertising and making all kinds of veiled threats. So kick them out. But the main objective is control.
So what does this mean for independent media in Fiji?
It means the end of independent media in Fiji.
Ian Lloyd was one of 3 appeal court judges who was deported from Fiji last year after they ruled that the 2006 coup was illegal. He says Frank Bainimarama cannot take criticism of his regime.
Once again, this is a further nail in the coffin of the rule of law in Fiji. If the rule of law wasn't already dead, buried and 20 foot under, it certainly now is.
For its part, Fiji has rejected the chorus of criticism, saying the media must be closely monitored for a very good reason.
For national security, I think you have to be in Fiji to understand some of the damage that can be caused in the media here. Then the sensational headlines, the very biased reporting.
With the media crackdown comes a question. What next?
Well, I suppose you're looking at close to a communist country, really, aren't you? Ruled by the dictator. But ultimately, the people will get to the stage where they simply won't tolerate it anymore, and I wouldn't like to see what happens when that occurs.
Karen Barlow, Lakeline.